Have you ever felt like history is only telling you one side of the story?
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe there are voices missing, perspectives left out.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
today
Uh-huh.
we are going on a deep dive into a hidden gem of history,
Okay.
a memoir that really turns the traditional narrative of the Mughal Empire on its head.
Wow.
Um,
It's amazing how one document can just challenge our entire understanding of an
Isn't it?
era.
Exactly. We're diving into the Humayun Nama,
Okay.
the memoir of a Mughal princess named Gulbadan.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Yeah.
this is the only surviving female-authored memoir from that period,
Right.
which makes it incredibly valuable
Yeah.
for understanding the Mughal world
Uh-huh.
from a completely different angle.
You see, for centuries, we've relied on the accounts of emperors and court historians,
Right.
which naturally present a very particular view of events.
Of course.
But Gulbadan's memoir gives us access to the inner workings of the Mughal court.
Yeah.
The family dynamics, the roles of women, things we wouldn't see otherwise.
It's like someone finally opened a window and let some fresh air into a stuffy old room.
Yes.
So let's talk about our author.
Okay.
This is Princess Gulbadan,
Right?
daughter of Babur,
Uh-huh. The founder
the founder of the Mughal
of
Empire,
Mughal Empire, yes.
sister to Humayun, the second emperor,
Yes.
and aunt to Akbar, arguably the most famous Mughal ruler.
Right.
She witnessed the empire's evolution
Uh-huh.
from its turbulent beginnings to its golden age.
And that's what makes her perspective so fascinating.
I know.
She wasn't just observing history from the sidelines, she was living it.
Yeah.
She experienced firsthand the challenges of establishing an empire,
Yeah.
the constant power struggle, the complexities of court life.
It sounds like a real-life drama,
It is.
full of intrigue and power plays.
Yes.
Now, how did a Mughal princess receive her education?
Right.
Was it similar to what the princes experienced?
It was a blend of formal instruction and informal learning.
Okay.
Storytelling played a vital role, passing down traditions, historical knowledge, and moral lessons.
Interesting.
Imagine growing up in the Mughal palace, surrounded by these epic tales of your ancestors.
What a wonderful way to learn. It must have felt like being transported back in time.
Absolutely.
But there was formal education as well, right?
Yes. Yes, Gulbadan had a female tutor who provided instruction in classic literature,
Mm-hmm.
moral conduct, and even practical skills.
Oh, wow.
And it's important to note that Mughal society at this time, while homosocial,
Okay.
meaning men and women largely occupied separate spheres,
Right.
wasn't as strictly segregated as it would become later during Akbar's reign.
I'm not familiar with that term, homosocial.
Right.
Could you elaborate on what it means in this context?
Of course.
Okay.
It means that social interactions and relationships were primarily formed within the same gender.
Okay.
Men largely socialized with men and women with women.
Okay.
But it wasn't a system of strict seclusion for women, as we might imagine.
I see. Yeah. So women still had a degree of agency and influence within their sphere.
Absolutely. And Gulbadan's memoir gives us glimpses of that agency.
Oh, wow.
We see women accompanying their husbands on military campaigns,
Yeah.
engaging in lively discussions, playing important roles in family matters.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't just passive figures confined to the harem.
That really challenges the stereotypical image of Mughal women that many people might have.
It does.
Now, Gulbadan's memoir is particularly illuminating
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to her portrayal of her brother, Emperor Humayun.
Okay.
History has often painted him as a somewhat weak or ineffective ruler,
Right.
but she presents a very different picture, doesn't she?
She does.
Yeah.
Gulbadan provides a much more nuanced and sympathetic portrayal of Humayun.
Interesting.
Through her eyes, we see a man deeply affected by the burdens of leadership.
Yeah.
Someone struggling to maintain control in a volatile and unpredictable environment.
Right.
Remember, the early years of the Mughal Empire were incredibly turbulent,
Uh-huh.
marked by constant wars and rebellions.
Gulbadan was right there in the thick of it all, witnessing the struggles and sacrifices required to forge an empire.
She was.
Her account really gives us a sense of how precarious those early days were.
Yeah.
Wow.
Really does. And those early struggles really set the stage for one of the most fascinating episodes in Gulbadan's life.
Oh, yeah.
Her pilgrimage to Mecca.
This journey is incredible for so many reasons.
Uh-huh.
Imagine this, a 53-year-old Mughal princess
Wow.
leading a group of women on an epic journey across land and sea.
Right. Right.
Now, this was practically unheard of at the time.
Yeah.
Royal Muslim women, especially those of Gulbadan stature, simply didn't undertake these kinds of pilgrimages independently.
It was a bold move.
Yeah.
And the timing is crucial for understanding its potential motivations.
Okay.
This was during a period when Akbar Gulbadan's nephew and the reigning emperor was implementing stricter policies
Okay.
regarding the royal women, essentially confining them to the harem.
So some scholars see this pilgrimage as a form of quiet rebellion on Gulbadan's part.
That's one interpretation.
Wow.
It's as if she's saying, you may restrict my movements within the palace walls,
Right.
but you can't control my faith or my desire to fulfill this spiritual obligation.
Wow.
It speaks to a deep sense of personal agency and defiance, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It's like she found a way to assert her independence
Yeah.
within the constraints of her position.
Exactly.
And what a journey it must have been. From what I understand, Professor Rublo has actually traced the route they took, and it was no walk in the park.
Though it was an arduous undertaking fraught with challenges.
Yeah.
They set out from the Mughal capital of Fatehpur Sikri,
Okay.
traveled overland to the coast, then boarded ships to cross the Arabian Sea.
Wow.
They faced storms, scorching deserts, and unfamiliar cultures along the way.
It really puts things in perspective, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
We often think of royal life as one of luxury and ease,
Right?
but even a Mughal princess had to endure hardship and risk
She did.
in pursuit of her goals.
Absolutely.
But all those challenges were just a prelude to the controversy that erupted when they reached Mecca.
Yes. Gulbadan and her entourage, known for their generosity,
Okay.
performed charitable acts and distributed alms to the poor in Mecca and Medina.
Okay.
Now, this surprisingly caused a diplomatic incident.
You're saying giving to charity caused a diplomatic row.
I am. How is that possible?
Well, the Ottoman Sultan Murad III,
Okay.
who controlled the holy cities at the time, saw their actions as a challenge to his authority.
Wow.
He felt they were encroaching on his territory and influence.
I see.
It's important to remember that the Ottomans and the Mughals, while both powerful Islamic empires,
Right.
were often rivals.
So Gulbadan inadvertently stumbled into this power struggle between empires simply by trying to do good.
Exactly. It's a reminder that even seemingly personal acts can have far-reaching political consequences,
Yeah.
especially when you're dealing with figures of such high status.
It makes you wonder if she had any idea what she was getting herself into.
Right.
So what happened next? Did the Ottomans just tell them to leave?
Not exactly.
Despite multiple eviction orders from Sultan Murad Gulbadan and her entourage remained in Arabia for 4 years.
Wow.
It's quite remarkable, isn't it?
Yeah.
She defied the most powerful ruler in the Muslim world for 4 years.
Wow.
Talk about standing her ground.
I know.
Eventually, Akbar sent a high-ranking official to escort them back to the Mughal Empire.
What a fascinating story.
It is.
It really speaks to her strength of character.
It does.
Now, I'm curious, how did her experience as a royal pilgrim compare to that of ordinary people undertaking the Hajj?
Right.
Would they have encountered the same challenges and restrictions?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
While the fundamental rites and ceremonies of the Hajj were the same for everyone regardless of social standing,
Right.
there were significant differences in terms of logistics and treatment.
That makes sense.
Oh,
I imagine a Mughal princess wouldn't exactly be traveling incognito.
precisely. Royal pilgrims like Gulbadan would have had special arrangements made for their travel and accommodation. They likely traveled with a large entourage for security and comfort and received preferential treatment from local authorities.
So even in the spiritual realm, social hierarchies still played a role.
They did.
But there's a twist in this tale, isn't there?
There is.
Gulban's memoir comes to an abrupt end, leaving us hanging mid-story.
Yes.
What happened? Was the manuscript damaged, or is there something more intriguing at play?
Well, the manuscript ends mid-sentence,
Okay.
right as Gulbadan is describing a rather sensitive event.
Okay.
The blinding of her stepbrother, Cameron,
Oh, wow.
at the order of her other brother, Humayun.
It does sound sensitive, especially considering the political implications.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Given Akbar's tendency to tightly control historical narratives and his own image,
Right.
some scholars believe those missing pages might have contained information he deemed too controversial or damaging to his legacy.
Especially if those missing sections contain more details about Gulbadan's pilgrimage and her bold defiance of the Ottoman Sultan. Akbar may have wanted to downplay any challenges to his authority, even indirect ones.
It's certainly a possibility.
Yeah.
And it highlights how history is often curated,
Mm.
with certain voices and perspectives being silenced or marginalized.
It's almost as if we're missing a piece of the puzzle,
We are.
a crucial part of the story.
Yes.
It makes you wonder what else might have been erased from history, not just from Gulbadan's narrative,
Right.
but from countless others whose perspectives were deemed unimportant or inconvenient by those in power.
It's a sobering thought.
Yeah.
And it underscores the importance of looking beyond the official narratives,
Right.
seeking out those marginalized voices and reconstructing a more complete and truthful understanding of the past.
It's like we're detectives piecing together clues to uncover a hidden truth.
We are.
And speaking of uncovering hidden truths, Professor Rudelow's work on Gulbadan's memoir has been instrumental in bringing this fascinating story to light.
It has.
She talks about this phenomena of male disbelief, where historians have traditionally dismissed or downplayed works by women simply because of their gender.
It's a pervasive bias that has shaped our understanding of history for far too long.
Yeah.
But thankfully, scholars like Professor Rubelow are challenging those assumptions
Right.
and actively working to restore these lost voices to their rightful place in the historical narrative.
It's a reminder that history is not static.
Yeah.
It's constantly being reevaluated and rewritten as we uncover new evidence and perspectives.
Yes.
And Gulbadan's memoir is a perfect example of how one woman's story can change our entire understanding of an era.
Her memoir isn't just a personal account. It's a window into the complex social and political landscape of the Mughal Empire.
Yeah.
Through her eyes, we see the inner workings of the court, the dynamics between family members, the roles of women, and the challenges of maintaining power in a turbulent world.
It's a story that goes beyond the battles and treaties, revealing the human side of history.
It is.
And that human element is what makes it so relatable even centuries later.
Exactly. It reminds us that history is not just about dates and events.
Right.
It's about people, their lives, their experiences, and their struggles.
So what can we learn from Gulbadan's story,
Right.
besides the fascinating details of Mughal court life?
Yeah.
What does it teach us about the nature of history itself?
I think it underscores the importance of questioning the narratives we've been given.
Okay.
It encourages us to dig deeper, to seek out those alternative perspectives,
Mm-hmm.
to recognize that history is often told from a position of power,
Right.
and that those in power often have a vested interest in shaping the story to their advantage.
It's like that saying, history is written by the victors.
Exactly.
But Gulbadan's memoir reminds us that there's always another side to the story,
There is.
a perspective that might challenge our assumptions and force us to reconsider what we thought we knew.
And by bringing those hidden voices to the forefront, we gain a richer, more nuanced, and ultimately more truthful understanding of the past.
So for anyone listening who's fascinated by untold stories and hidden gems of history, Gulbadan's memoir is a must-read.
It is.
It's a journey through the heart of the Mughal Empire, seen through the eyes of a remarkable woman who witnessed it all. It really makes you wonder, how many other Gulbadans are out there waiting to be rediscovered?
Yeah.
How many other women, how many people from marginalized communities have had their stories silenced or overlooked throughout history?
It's a question that should haunt us all.
Yeah.
And it's why the work being done by scholars like Professor Rubelow is so vital.
Right.
She's not just translating and analyzing Gulbadan's memoir. She's actively working to bring it to a wider audience.
That's amazing.
She's planning a new translation and a full-fledged biography, which is incredibly exciting.
Oh, wow. That's fantastic news.
Yeah.
I can't wait to read them both.
Yeah.
It makes you realize that history isn't some dusty, unchanging thing.
Right.
It's alive. It's evolving.
Mhm.
It's constantly being reshaped as we uncover new perspectives and challenge old assumptions.
Precisely. And Gulbadan's story is a powerful reminder that history is made up of individual lives,
Yeah.
each with its own complexities and contradictions.
Wow.
It's not just about the grand narratives of emperors and empires.
Right.
It's about the people who lived through those times,
Yeah.
their hopes, their fears, their triumphs, and their struggles.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the fascinating world of Gulbadan and the Mughal Empire, what's the key takeaway you hope listeners will walk away with?
I hope they'll remember that history is never truly complete.
Okay.
There are always more stories to uncover, more voices to hear, more perspectives to consider.
Yeah.
And by embracing those diverse perspectives, we can gain a richer and more meaningful understanding of not just the past, but also of ourselves and the world we live in today.
That's a beautiful thought.
Thank you.
It reminds us that learning is a lifelong journey, and that there's always something new to discover,
Yes.
especially when we venture beyond the familiar
Uh-huh.
and embrace the unfamiliar.
And who knows what treasures we might find along the way.
Well said. So if you're intrigued by Gulbadan's story and want to explore it further, I highly recommend checking out Professor Rubelow's book, Vagabond Princess.
Yes.
It's a captivating read that will transport you to the heart of the Mughal world.
It's a journey well worth taking.
And of course, be sure to subscribe to The Deep Dive for more explorations of hidden knowledge, unexpected connections, and thought-provoking insights that will expand your understanding of the world around you.
Yes.
Until next time, keep diving.